Israel's strike on senior Hamas leaders in Qatar. In fact, just hours ago, Israel launched a strike on the capital city of Doha. There's no word yet if any targets were hit, but you can see there on that video the damage was extensive. So a U.S. senior official confirms the U.S. was informed by Israel that the attack was about to happen, but did not participate. The official said even the U.S. didn't even coordinate with Israel. The strike comes as efforts to end the war in Gaza continue. Doha, and you probably know this, has been the base of the Hamas negotiating group, and Hamas confirmed to the BBC its delegation was the target of that attack. Moments ago, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu addressed this. He was over at the U.S. Embassy's Independence Day event. Let's listen.
Now, much of the world, including much of the democratic world, or governments at least, have shamefully forgotten October 7th. But I don't forget, and Israel will never forget. Never. There was a time when Jews could be murdered with impunity, but since the founding of the State of Israel, those days are over. On this day, as in previous days, Israel acted wholly independently, and we take full responsibility for this action. And this action can open the door to an end of the war in Gaza. Israel has accepted the proposals put forward by President Trump to end the war, beginning with the immediate release of all our hostages, which have been held in the dungeons of Gaza for 700 days. If President Trump's proposal is accepted, the war can end immediately. We can begin once again to pursue the expansion of peace in our region for the benefit of all. But I want to close by directing my words to the people of Gaza. Don't be derailed by these murderous terrorists, by these killers. They don't care a hoot about you. They live in sumptuous villas. You can't imagine how sumptuous. Away from this battle scene. Their partners in Gaza don't worry about you. They go to the underground tunnels and they keep you above ground so you serve as human shields for them. Don't be derailed by these killers. Stand up for your rights and for your future. Make peace with us. Accept President Trump's proposal. Don't worry. You can do it, and we can promise you a different future. But you've got to take these people out of the way. If you do, there is no limit to our common future. Thank you.
All right, so a lot to unpack there. So let's bring in CBS News national security contributor Sam Vinograd. Sam, always great to talk to you. The U.S. was informed, but not a part of that strike. Netanyahu made that very clear. But what does that mean for the United States and its role there in the Middle East?
Well, even if the United States was not directly coordinating with Israel on this attack, it is likely that various actors in the region, including terrorist groups, may consider the U.S. at least complicit in this strike in Qatar. For that reason, it is likely that the United States, in order to protect American personnel, is monitoring intelligence, monitoring chatter on the internet and social media to try to ensure that there are no reprisal strikes against Americans in the region or here at home. If we broaden the aperture read and look longer term, it is a real question as to whether Arab nations in the region, Qatar, and then the countries that Israel currently has diplomatic agreements with via the Abraham Accords, choose to sever diplomatic relations with Israel and or engage in some kind of retribution against Israel for their actions, at which point the United States will be placed in a position of trying to mediate an end not just to the Israel-Gaza conflict, but a broader conflict among regional players.
Well, and you know, you raise an important point because the U.S. does have large military operations, a base there. If I have a son or a daughter there and serving, should I be concerned about their safety?
Well, the United States does have about 10,000 soldiers at Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar, but I am not just concerned about Americans on a military base. There are also hundreds of thousands of American citizens in the region. Many of them are dual citizens. And it is always a concern in a situation like this that terrorist groups choose to strike against softer targets than a military base to try to get back at the United States based on a perception that the United States was involved in some way in the strike by Israel in Qatar.
And thus the reason why Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu seems to be wanting to draw a very big line between the United States and Israel, saying Israel owns this one. Sam, it's always great to talk to you. I appreciate it so much.